I've been looking forward to this entire show. We're going to go over the short list of the players of the month and the managers of the month for November, December in the English Premier League. Our nominations are for players, Casemiro, Erling Haaland, Ben Mee, Martin Odegaard, Paulinho, Marcus Rashford, Bukayo Saka, and Kieran Trippier. Who's your bet?
So looking at the games that they've played in these November, December, there's only one clear, obvious choice for me. I mean, even if you're not an Arsenal fan, it's got to be Martin Odegaard, man. Played 4, won 4. He's got 3 goals and 3 assists in 4 games.
Yeah.
How do you not say him? There's no one close to him.
No, I wish I had an argument here. It's a clear choice for this one. It's not really close. I mean, yeah, Haaland has 4 goals in 4 games, but they only won 2 of them.
Though, did they?
No. Rashford's got 2 goals and assist, but they won 3 and not 4. Saka won 4, but he's got 2 goals and assist. Both of his goals were assisted by Martin Odegaard.
So, I mean, yeah, he's got 6 goal contributions in 4 games. He had more than any of the other players listed for this player of the month.
Yeah. Not to mention the highest XG out of any player in those games and 2 men of the match performances. So, yeah, there's no competition here. It's Martin Odegaard. And this is not me being biased, but that's what the stats say.
Honestly, I don't even know how Casemiro is even on this list.
He's had good performances defensively.
I guess. They've won 3 out of the 4 games.
Why Ben Mee is on this list, has 1 assist. I don't know either. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be along the same lines of the managers of the month category as well. There are some coaches on there. I don't know why they're on there, but they're on there. So, speaking of which, those coaches are Mikel Arteta, Thomas Frank, Eddie Howe, and Jurgen Klopp. For me, there's only one answer, but what's your argument, Tyler?
Well, so Arteta, manager of Arsenal, Eddie Howe, manager of Newcastle, Thomas Frank, he's the manager of Brentford, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I'll check. Had a little brain fart there. And then Jurgen Klopp, manager of Liverpool. So if you want to go off stats and the games they won, so Arteta, it was 4 games. He won 4 games. Klopp played 4 games, won 4 games. Thomas Frank, 4 games, had 2 wins. And then 2 draws to Forest and Spurs. Eddie Howe for Newcastle, he had 3 wins from the 4 and a draw to Leeds. I think, honestly, the only reason Thomas Frank is in that conversation is one of those wins was against Manchester City.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, the football they've been playing has been really good. All 4 of these coaches are the only 4 coaches that didn't have a loss in the last 4 games.
Yeah.
So I think that's why all of them are on the list. Ultimately, I think it's a 2-horse race between Jurgen Klopp and Mikel Arteta. But with Klopp really only beating one team that you could consider a top team, and Arteta beating arguably 2, having 4 convincing victories, I think Arteta is my choice for this one. I don't see how Jurgen Klopp gets this one.
So yeah, going off those games, I mean, 4 wins is 4 wins. Mm-hmm. So if you want to go off that, then yeah, Klopp should be up there and talked about. But obviously, we have the pleasure of hindsight. We've seen the games since then. So I don't know if that plays a little, has a little effect on who you would pick to be manager of the month. Kind of does for me, so I wouldn't pick Klopp.
For me, it's how much of these games that Arteta and Arsenal have played have not been close. I mean, the Chelsea score was 1-0, but there was no chance that Chelsea was going to win that game. And then you got...
No, that was a tough game.
Arsenal dominated that whole game. It should have been 2-3-0. And I mean, the Brighton game, 4-2. West Ham coming down 3-1. I think the amount of goals and the free-flowing football that Arteta and Arsenal have been playing right now versus Klopp, who won 4 in a row, but before that wasn't looking very good, kind of looking like Chelsea, and then they lose their first game of the new year. Granted, this is player or manager of the month for November and December, not January or October. But those games were much closer than Arsenal's were. Arsenal is just playing better at the moment. So I have to give it to Mikel Arteta.
I'll argue for Eddie Howe. You know, he got a win against the Saints. You expect him to win. Then he gets a win against Chelsea, a win against Leicester again, which you expect him to win. The game against Leeds, they definitely outplayed Leeds, had the better of the chances, and it ended in a draw. So, I mean, and then obviously this last game, like, again, we're only looking at November, December, not looking at January, but coming into January, Newcastle are still looking very good, and Eddie Howe is doing an amazing job there. So, I mean, I guess I could argue for him.
No argument for Jurgen Klopp, huh?
Nah. I mean, if you look at the game, Spurs, Southampton, Aston Villa, and Leicester, Liverpool should be winning those games.
Yeah, I mean, the Spurs one was tricky. Ultimately, they ran away with it, but the other 3 are in the bottom end of the table. They should beat those teams. You're right.
And then, so that's where I would argue against Arteta. As the Chelsea game, I see as the real, bugaboo game, potentially the Brighton game. But the other 2, you would expect them to win. Wolves, who are down at the bottom, West Ham are down at the bottom, not performing well.